Hello, my name is Ernestine, and today I'd like to present my project entitled At the Terrace's Edge, Bridging Generations. But first, I'd like to ask you all a question. When was the last time you traveled? And I know for most of us, it was just a few weeks ago, a few days ago. Or let me ask you, do you remember every memory that you had during traveling? Do you remember every attraction, every details, all the food that you've eaten, and details of every memory? Well, let me ask you a completely different question now, and don't get caught off guard. When was the last time you saw your grandparents? Was it a few hours ago, maybe weeks ago, or just a few months ago? But maybe for some of us, they might not be with us anymore. Did you have a relationship with them, is what I want to ask. Do you remember their favorite hobbies, their favorite food, and the stories they used to share with you? In Hong Kong's fast-paced society, we often get caught up in deadlines and social events. We often neglect our home lives and the relationships we have with our loved ones. And unfortunately, there are very real statistics for this. In Hong Kong, it is found that a proportion of people aged 65 and above experiencing social isolation hit 53% in 2023 to 2024. Since COVID-19, elderly isolation has actually worsened due to the disruption in elderly services such as community workshops and centers. This called for swift actions to address the impacts of social distancing and worsening elderly mental health. The reality is that most elderly in Hong Kong are experiencing forms of social disconnect from the larger community scene, worsening mental health and difficulty relating to the younger generations. So what if I told you a space existed where we can engage with younger generations? The elderly can engage with younger generations of various cultural backgrounds, and overseas backpackers can gain experiences and memories straight from the local scene. This would be a place where elderly villagers can engage with younger generations, share hobbies with company, and share the experience of their culture wordlessly. This would be a place where backpackers can interact with locals in an encouraging environment, engage in local activities, games, and dances firsthand, taught by the elderly, and experience local culture just within the site. This would be a place where elderly villagers and overseas backpackers have an exchange of cultures, enhancing social connections, and the two groups can converge and interact. Introducing At the Terrace's Edge, to bridge generations together in the form of a modular hostel tower. So let's dive into the site of Tuen Mun San Hoi and why it's an ideal location for a hostel, seemingly as a unique interaction hub. Tuen Mun San Hoi means a new market, and in the 70s it was established as a market district, and in the 90s it became a bustling market area with local eateries and shops. Currently, due to continued urban development, it became a major food market and now a commercial quarter. The site itself is a convergence point between the modern developments of Hong Kong and the traditional village. The nearest village being the Lung Tin Chon village, the intended demographic of elderly. It is one of 36 villages within Tuen Mun's local rural committee. It reflects Hakka community roots, migration from the northern China to southern China, and the local roots and customs of their lifestyles, such as the importance of close-knit communities, valuing family ties, and communal activities. Multi-generational living is very common within these villages due to tradition, rising housing costs, and support systems. But what would happen if these support systems were to be away? Where young children would go to school and work, where do the elderly go? With time to themselves, they often want to seek connections, feel boredom, maybe even concern for their mental health, and in worst cases, they may feel fear of abandonment. As a small community, the village itself upholds traditional recreational activities, such as Tai Chi or checkers. The community itself thrives on community engagement, with small retail shops, handicrafts, and selling produce. As a community, integrating both recreational activities and community engagement enables villagers to reach new environments, share cultures, strengthen that community bond, and ultimately alleviate that social disconnect. The main footbridge acts as the main connection between the village, the proposed site, and the modern division of Sanhoi. It is accessible to a mass transit railway connecting urban cities with the suburbs. And the light rail transit serves shorter urban routes. The connection of these enables the connection of the variety of these different transportation methods offers access to young locals, families, overseas backpackers, and local elderly villagers alike. Surrounding the site itself, there are various shopping malls, the notable Sanhoi Market, outdoor public areas. The activities taking place are often strolling, shopping, trying local food, Tai Chi, and group meetings. The Tunmun Rural Committee was founded by Chun Yat-sen for the betterment of the village affairs and development. And with that in mind, what does this particular project actually bring to the site? First, let's dive into the architectural concept, which is to bridge generations, a spatial metaphor of a complex relationship between two generations, a young child and their aging grandparent. The massing is articulated into two primary volumes, representing the two generations themselves. The volumes are both distinct in scale, form, and treatment. The larger grounded volume depicts the grandparent, which is rooted, enduring, and weathered by time. Its composition is of solid textured timber, which evokes feelings of permanence, wisdom, and nostalgia of an elderly grandparent. The lighter horizontal, outreaching volume depicts a young child, which is dynamic and ambitious, often reflecting their contemporary life and future aspirations. Its bare materiality depicts a blank slate or a fresh canvas, which is ready to be shaped with the experiences, education, and social interactions a child might have and will have in the future. The two masses intersect and overlap with one another, including the brief yet meaningful periods of reconnection that we may have with them in our lives. This creates the shared spaces, courtyards, terraces, or communal rooms that emphasize unity, empathy, and continuity. The project consists of modular integrated construction, of which few projects are actually seen in Hong Kong, and it becomes a rising trend nowadays, including the Wan Chuk Hang student residence and the Casa Eminence, which is a private residence, reflective of Hong Kong's steel and concrete urban fabric. There are 4 different modules accommodating both single and twin guest rooms. Each module is stepped upward and set back, allowing for shared terraces viewing the abutting park and set in a diagonal manner. Due to the diagonal arrangement of these modules, diagonal members are integrated instead of typical vertical members. An opportunity emerged to transform the void below these modules into an atrium, featuring an A-frame steel structure to support these diagonally stepped modules. Views of this atrium can be seen between guest room floors as well as a ground floor covered plaza for the visual connection between the whole building. There are 2 types of guest room modules, one with a single bed and 2 beds for overseas backpackers, featuring a private balcony, their workbench, and the balcony also consists of quick-drying synthetic grass for rainy days, as well as lounge chairs. The circulatory framework consists of 3 aspects, which is to attract, connect, and exchange. To attract includes a large entry point along the main pedestrian flow areas to engage interest immediately with community events from the plaza. Connecting is to interact and share cultures in a welcoming environment with social activities as they ascend the tower. And lastly, to engage is to stimulate meaningful interactions between the elderly and the young generation, mitigating that social disconnect. And young backpackers can actually experience Hong Kong culture firsthand from its roots. This diagram explains 4 floors out of the 12 at the hostel tower: the ground floor, the 8th floor, the 11th floor, and the rooftop, of which 2 typical floor layouts alternate between guest room floors. Spatial categories include hands-on activities, multimedia for learning and educational material, the outdoor lounge, community merchandise, and guest units, varying on each floor. The community market itself, on the ground floor, enables elderly villagers a platform to sell cherished local foods and handmade crafts, such as calligraphy, paintings, jewelry, and garments. This vibrant showcase of traditional Hong Kong culture and delicacies and artistry draws the interest of travelers immediately. On guest unit floors, there includes a skill zone, which serves as a main interaction space, where travelers can observe and learn traditional games and hobbies. And the spatial layout encourages social interaction with radio-centric design. Furthermore, on the 2nd floor layout, there is a mini library including educational reading materials, as well as a common area and kitchen, serving as an indoor resting space. The rooftop garden, lastly, fosters community collaboration and individuals contributing their efforts to plant seeds of growth within the community. The building's color palettes are made of hues of reds, yellows, and green tones, stimulating that interactivity used on furniture and carpeting. For the elderly, these colors are less saturated to avoid overwhelming their vision. Also, warm wood tones are used for furniture and walls to invite that welcoming atmosphere, evoking nostalgia and new opportunities. The design incorporates environmental strategies, addressing common issues in Hong Kong, such as excessive air conditioning. So wind simulations help to identify the southern direction as optimal for airflow in the site, and the wind flow through these guest room modules facilitate bifolding doors on the south, louvers on the north, and to facilitate effective cross-ventilation. Other environmental strategies include a ventilated healthy staircase, featuring vertical fins and a loose green wall to enhance air quality. It also encourages vertical movement between floors for backpackers and elderly villagers alike, as well as southern-facing modules invite soft natural daylight, especially in the winter. As we wrap up, we can conclude the changes seen from this implementation of this project. Currently, a culmination of Hong Kong culture and activities can be contributed by the older generations. But now, we can see prospering social connections between locals and travelers within shared games and hobbies. Currently, curious travelers enjoy Hong Kong culture in the converging point of community generations. Now, with the hostel, backpackers can leave with memories engaging firsthand with locals and participating in local cultural activities. Within the social structures isolating the elderly, coexistence can be shared between 2 generations, making brief reconnections that much more valuable and meaningful. Imagine the smiles we can bring and the stories we can share. Bridging generations is an opportunity to cherish our elderly villagers, honor their wisdom, and build a community where every generation feels loved and valued. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernestine. Can you take off your mic? Yeah.